Welcome back to the Awesome Agents podcast. So, Maya, this one is pretty alarming. A hacker used Claude to break into 6 Mexican government agencies.
Yeah, this story is wild. And I think what makes it significant isn't just the scale, but how simple the technique was.
Okay, so walk me through it. What actually happened here?
So, an unknown attacker spent about a month from December 2025 to January 2026 using Claude as basically a hacking assistant, over 1,000 prompts. They hit Mexico's Federal Tax Authority, the National Electoral Institute, 3 state governments, and a water utility.
1,000 prompts. That's a lot. And nobody caught it?
That is one of the big questions. The total haul was 150 gigabytes, including 195 million taxpayer records. That is basically the entire Mexican tax base.
Okay, but wait. Claude has safety guardrails. It is supposed to refuse this kind of thing. What went wrong?
So here is the interesting part. Claude actually did refuse at first. When the attacker started asking about deleting logs and hiding credentials, the model flagged it and said no.
So the guardrails worked initially.
Right. But then the attacker switched tactics. Instead of going back and forth, they gave Claude a detailed playbook, framed the whole thing as a legitimate bug bounty security assessment. The prompts were in Spanish, telling Claude to act as an elite hacker doing authorized pen testing.
And that worked? Just pretending it was authorized?
It worked. Role based jailbreaks are one of the oldest tricks in prompt injection. And honestly, the fact that it still works against a frontier model in 2026 is concerning.
So once past the guardrails, what did Claude actually do for the attacker?
Basically, everything. It identified vulnerabilities in target networks, wrote custom exploit scripts, mapped internal systems, automated bulk data exfiltration pipelines. It even produced attack reports telling the operator which targets to hit next and what credentials to use.
That is a full service hacking operation.
And here is another wrinkle. When Claude hit limits or refused specific requests mid operation, the attacker switched to ChatGPT for supplementary tasks, especially lateral movement and detection evasion.
So they were using 2 AI models as a tag team. That is a really hard problem to solve, right?
Exactly. This is what researchers call the multi model problem. Each company only sees its slice of the attack chain. Anthropic sees the exploit development prompts, OpenAI sees the evasion questions. Nobody has the full picture. It's like using burner phones.
What has Anthropic said about this?
They banned the accounts once Gambit Security, the Israeli cybersecurity firm that found this, reported it. They say they have fed the attack patterns back as training data. And they say Claude Opus 4.6 now has enhanced probes to detect similar misuse.
But that's reactive. They're patching after the fact.
Right. And the question is whether the next attacker who uses a slightly different framing just walks right through again. The core issue is that role based jailbreaks are a category of attack, not a single technique. You cannot just block the specific prompts this person used.
What about the Mexican government's response?
Fragmented, honestly. Jalisco and the Electoral Institute are denying any breach happened. Other agencies are still investigating. There is a gap between what the researchers found and what the government will acknowledge.
195 million taxpayer records. That's not a small thing to deny.
No, it isn't. And the 20 unpatched vulnerabilities that were exploited, those existed regardless of AI. The AI just made finding and exploiting them dramatically faster.
That's the part that keeps me up at night. The barrier to entry for sophisticated attacks just dropped to, what, persistence and a credit card?
Pretty much. You don't need to be an experienced penetration tester anymore. You need time and the right framing. And that is a fundamentally different threat model than what most organizations are defending against.
So where does this leave AI safety? Is this a solvable problem?
I think it's solvable, but not with the current approach of just adding more refusal training. You need architectural changes, better monitoring of usage patterns over time, not just individual prompts, cross provider threat intelligence sharing, and probably some hard conversations about how capable these models should be at writing exploit code.
One attacker, 1 month, 150 gigabytes. That's a sentence that should make a lot of people uncomfortable. Thanks for breaking this down, Maya.
Always. This one is going to have ripple effects for a while.
That's it for today's episode. If this story concerns you as much as it concerns us, share it around. We'll see you next time on the Awesome Agents podcast.